Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Celestial Winter Gaming. Normally, your place for CDH gameplay, but this time, doing something a little bit different. I am here with Chris, or also known as Bird is the Word, and we are going over a deck tech video of his deck and a deck that I think is so awesome. It's Teshar Ancestor's Apostles. So, Chris, if you want to go ahead and say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, okay. I know I already said this earlier, Chris, but I have to say it again. I am super excited about this, and for everybody watching, I'm super excited about this. I think this deck is really sweet. I've never played it, partly because I think that's a lot of brain power to devote to, but I'm super
Yep.
excited to talk about this deck. So, we're gonna go ahead and just kind of hop over to the list here and start explaining about the deck and everything.
Sure.
And here we are. We have the deck list pulled up. We have Teshar pulled up. And Chris, if you want to go ahead and actually read Teshar and what it does.
Yeah. He's a mono white commander. He's 3 and a white. He's a flying 2/2 body. Kind of irrelevant, but he says whenever you cast a historic spell, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Historic spells are artifacts, legendaries, and sagas.
Yeah, so obviously, first big thing, Teshar's mono white. And I mean, the big question to get out of the way is, Chris, what drew you to Teshar?
So I started playing back in Theros block. I was doing like tabletop, just 1v1 draft chaff. And I've always kind of been drawn to these kind of interesting non-standard strategies. So when I got into EDH, I was playing casually a lot. I was playing a lot of graveyard recursion decks. I played Marin. That was like my favorite casual deck.
Uh,
Um,
that's awesome.
when I got
I'm
oh yeah,
sorry.
no, sorry,
No, no,
yeah,
I
no,
have to, I have to, I just have to interject there real quick. I'm sorry. Marin was
yeah.
also my first like favorite casual deck.
Oh,
So,
it was super fun. My
mhm.
problem was it was a little too high power for what I was doing with my table,
Same,
so I had to.
same.
So I started playing with different groups of people, and then I kind of got into CEDH. And when I first started playing, then I was playing. I think I was playing Mono Green Sobala, and then I was playing some of the like the top 10 bread and butter kind of decks, the TNTs and stuff, and
Mhm,
it didn't really do it for me. I saw this commander from the 99s video. That's Patrick, if you remember him. He still
mhm.
does content, I think, but he had a gameplay of this, and I was watching him play it, and I was just like, "What the heck is this doing?" I thought it was so cool. So I went out of my way. I bought all the cards, and without even knowing how the deck worked, I bought all the cards because you can actually build this pretty budget. So, I mean, it's like the lands and the fast mana, it's all the expensive stuff. But
Mhm.
I put this together and started playing it, and I just loved it. It's non-standard. People are always confused about what you're doing. I think it's a really fun way to attack the game. And that's kind of how I got started on this deck, and I've been playing it ever since.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Like you said, I think one of a couple of the key points there to me is it attacks the meta in just a weird way, and people
Yep,
don't know what you're doing.
a
Those
lot
are
of Brewers advantage. Yep.
yes, those are two great things to be able to capitalize on. I played against this deck maybe close to a dozen times. I don't even know if a
Hmm.
dozen times, and
Sure.
I still don't fully know what's doing. It's
Yeah.
one. I have a group of decks that I classify as like I don't know what they're doing, so I just assume they can win the turn before I think they can win.
Which is fair. Yeah.
Which is yeah, kind of where I put Teshar. And it's interesting,
Yep.
you say about the budget thing too, and like obviously we play CDH and pretty much everywhere is proxy friendly these days.
Absolutely. Yep.
But Wizard sanctioned things aren't always proxy friendly, and there's still like some game stores that aren't proxy friendly. So like being rather budget is also like a nice a nice add-on, a nice touch.
Yep. Yep. And obviously it's changed a bit over the years, but like when I first started playing this, it was playing so many literal draft chaff commons that
Hmm.
you could have the deck put together for, a couple $100, which is expensive, but budget in the sense of competitive EDH.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Hmm.
So, we're looking here at the list and you got it enabled by tags, which is really nice. We got a lot of different interesting stuff here. Um, but I think before we fully get into the list, would you classify this deck as kind of a turbo deck, a mid-range deck, a stacks deck? Because I know a lot of mono white decks kind of fall into that stacks category. How would
Yep.
you, how would you feel it?
Um, so yeah, there's only 10 or so of us that are like really brewing the deck that I'm aware of.
Hmm.
I brew a lot on the mono white server. Some people have built it a couple different ways. Some people build it mid rangey and stacksy. I think it's a turbo deck.
Hmm.
I think the longer the longer the game goes, the worse it gets for you. So you're kind of in that parasitic, turbo strategy. You don't have a lot of ways to interact, but you're looking to close the game on turn 2 or 3.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, I personally would rather play a deck that's trying to close the game out in turns 2 or 3 instead of again,
Hmm.
you know, I'm a turbo player at heart. For anybody who's watching this
Yep.
and has watched my stuff knows that I just don't do anything but turbo really. So I think another reason why I really like at least the way I've seen this commander. I think the only times I've actually played against this deck is you and Jay. I think the
I
only
know we've played a few
times.
times.
Yes, we played a few times, and Jay, and
Oh,
you both.
I think I lost you.
Sorry about that, guys. Couple of technical difficulties, but all that to say, like we were saying, only played against a couple of people playing this list, and each time it was the kind of turbo way of playing the list, and definitely really like that about the deck. So since you're saying it's kind of turbo and everything, would you say how? I guess where am I trying to go with this? Would you say it has a pretty quick way to win?
Yeah, I think so. I think over the last couple of years, especially, it's when this first kind of became a thing and people were brewing it. It was kind of a turn 4 deck. Now I think it airs more towards the turn 3, typically protected in some way. But I've been kind of working on some innovations recently where I can get it to a turn 2 a lot more frequently.
Oh wow.
So I mean and a lot of it comes down to just like learning how to mulligan the
Hmm.
the deck.
Okay.
And we can definitely go over that as well.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a great place to start, especially for like obviously in CDH, everybody knows mulligans are important, but it's not like we're a Thrasius deck that can just look for a bunch of mana.
Yep.
As a turbo player myself, I know that like for a turbo deck, mulligans are like really important. So, what are some things that you're looking for in your mulligan?
So yeah, so you're playing a mono white commander that costs 4 pips, or three in a white pip. So you have 4 mana. So it's really important that you're opening 7, and this is something that I kind of tell people too. Like your opening 10 cards are usually what you're going to see in an entire game on this deck.
Okay.
You don't have a lot of draw engines. Like you have ways to get advantage, and that's obviously a thing you can do, but you can't do it consistently.
Mhm.
So in your opening mulligan is like the most important part of this deck. If you don't do it correctly, you can kind of just lose before the game even starts. Which is one of the things that really punished me while I was learning to play this deck. I think I spent 3 years just losing on this
Oh,
deck, and now I started tracking my games, and now I'm up in the 45-50% win rate with it now. Just
damn.
playing it over and over and over and over, Um, but yeah, things you're looking for in your mulligans. I guess first I'll say like I'm not afraid to mull the 4 on this deck.
Okay.
I'd rather keep a 4 that kind of plays the game than a 6 or a 7 that doesn't do anything. Because like I said, your opening hand is so important. So um, you're looking for primarily you're looking for mana. You need to have a lot of fast mana, and you have a ton of that packed into this deck.
Okay.
Some of it traditional, with your regular rocks. Some of it little, non-traditional. You're playing a lot of the altar effects that make mana, and as well, on top of that, you're playing things like Metalworker, Glaring Fleshraker, Cathodian, which don't make mana on their own. So it's a lot of like weird pieces that kind of go together. But you're looking for a lot of mana. Um, and to win the game with this deck, it requires it's usually a combination of 3 to 4 different cards. Usually, different cards fit into those slots, and you're kind of looking for a way to put all those together. So typically, I'm looking for mana and a sack outlet, or mana and a retriever effect, or I'll keep mana and a draw engine as well.
Okay.
Typically, um, but yeah, that's kind of what you're looking for.
So if you could say, let's get an idea of what we think like the perfect hand, or maybe not like let's not say the god hand, but like a hand that you would say if you like say you look at your opening 7, you're like, yes, this is a hand I can definitely keep and do
Mhm.
well with. What would we be seeing in that kind of a hand?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I win about 90% of games where I see like a Soul Ring and a Fellwar Stone, and then like an Esper Sentinel. Like that's a perfect hand to keep
Okay.
on. Yeah, otherwise, just like a bunch of fast mana, and then one of your sack outlets. You're playing seven of them that are dedicated sacrifice outlets. Those are really important to start your creature
Okay.
loops. You're also playing seven of your retriever effects. As well as there's some other cards that kind of fit into those roles as well that kind of act as both. Those are like your tutor creatures that you have access to. But yeah, typically a lot of mana and then like a sack outlet, so you kind of have a path forward.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
So let's kind of before we kind of get into like actual some mulligans that we're going to take a look at. Um,
Mhm.
how exactly is this deck winning? Because I think that's very key to understanding what we're trying to do. Is if we understand how the deck is winning. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, I mean, yeah, are you familiar with like shops like that archetype at all? With like your KCI loops,
a little
with
bit,
your
a little
workshop?
bit. I'm
Okay.
sure people who are watching are more familiar than me.
Yep. So if you're familiar with any of that style of eggs deck, you know that you kind of get an idea of what this is trying to do. Teshar is your primary combo engine. He's required for all of the combo lines in my deck. There are builds you can play that can work without him in play, but mine is built to just go fast and get him out and play, and he's required. So he's your primary enabler.
Okay.
On top of that, there's a bunch of layered ways to actually win the game, but typically it comes down to having your commander in play, one of these sacrifice outlets, and then one of these retriever creatures.
Okay.
Um, Most of them fall into the mirror retriever line of text where it says when it dies. Yeah, it says when it dies, you get to take an artifact from your graveyard, put it back in your hand.
Okay.
Okay, so it's typically one of these effects. You have a few other ones that do kind of more like pseudo effects in the same way, but they're a little different. Like the pixie is an ETB where it bounces something to hand versus an LTB where it grabs it from the yard.
Okay.
But it's more or less the same type of effect. So you need one of these, one of your sacrifice outlets that can sack that type of creature.
Okay.
So let's say you have your Ashnod's altar and your Mirror Retriever. It's kind of your like that's kind of like the bread and butter of what you want.
Okay.
That's a sack a creature, make two mana.
Hmm.
And then you have an abundance of other pieces which can fit into this role of your enablers. So you need a sack outlet, you need a retriever, and then you need an enabler. A lot of the time, that can be one of your these zero drop little creatures here, the ornithopters, the memnites. So let's say you have in this case you have a memnite.
Okay.
Yeah. So typically you're putting together a loop here. So you know when you cast your memnite, you have your Teshar in play, your sack outlet. You can sack the memnite for two mana. You put your mirror retriever in play, with your retriever effect. You sack that to your altar, which triggers and lets you put the memnite back in your hand from your graveyard.
Hmm.
You can cast the memnite, which triggers your commander to reanimate your mirror retriever,
Okay.
and then you can do that as long as you want to infinitely to make infinite colorless mana.
Okay.
So there you have a loop, but you don't actually have a way to kill the table. From there you have it's kind of a build your own win con here. You can
Hmm.
use Walking Ballista.
Classic.
You can use classic pretty. That's like my go-to if I just need a clean way to finish a game. Market Back Walker, infinite mana. You can draw your deck with it.
Okay.
If you scroll up to or if you scroll down to go down a little bit past the lands, things like Chromatic Star or Conjurer's Bauble, Skull Clamp, Shriekhorn. With that loop, you can draw your deck.
Okay.
So after you've looped your Mirror Retriever enough to make enough mana, you can start casting your Chromatic Star and then looping that and drawing out your deck.
Okay.
So you can draw your deck out, cast your Ballista. You can use the altars. You can use Altar Dementia Grinding Station to mill the opponents out and then
Okay.
pass the turn. You can also mill yourself out and then find your Ballista. You can kill people with Blasting Station. There's a million different ways to win with this deck,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
is yeah part of the fun of playing it.
So mainly you're just trying to get into one of these little retrieving loops and then have your
Mhm.
like final piece being whether you're drawing your deck and then going from
Yep.
there or just using that infinite
Yeah.
mana to shoot the table with blocking ballista or what have
Yep.
you.
And I think the difficult part about kind of learning this deck is kind of understanding which pieces fit into multiple roles.
Okay.
Your retrievers are not only your enablers, but they're also obviously value in this deck. And your sack outlets help you fill up your graveyard to find other valuable pieces to reanimate. Your combo enablers, like your Lotus Petal, that's a great way to ramp, but it's also a combo piece. If you have a Lotus Petal with your retriever online and your
Oh
sack
wow.
outlet, then you make infinite mana, right?
Yeah.
Same for Lion's Eye Diamond and Tormod's Crypt. Like Tormod's Crypt is a zero drop, do nothing that that exiles a graveyard, but you can use it as part of your loop. So
Okay.
The deck is constructed in a way where all of your utility pieces and your cards that don't necessarily do anything, they kind of combine to fit into this machine, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely yeah, like you said, it's a big complex machine, which
Yes.
I think is so cool.
Hmm.
I really like seeing decks that like kind of put together stuff like that. And like I think that's like we had going back to what we had said, I think that's one of the big advantages to the deck is like people don't really have any clue as to like what's
What you're
going
doing,
on.
yeah, and it's one of those things where you're combining a bunch of just garbage draft chaff cards, which is kind of where my name came from, and you're turning it into something just completely broken, right? The commander's effect is obviously very strong, and over the years you've gotten a lot of really strong pieces that are good on their own, but also in conjunction with your commander are just busted.
Yeah.
You have things like if you go down to the card advantage section, you have things like Ingenious Smith, which is one in a white. You just look at the top four and you get to put an artifact in your hand.
Hmm.
Pretty mediocre card. If you have a sack outlet in play and you cast this, you sack it, make 2 mana, find an artifact, sack it, make 2 mana, make an artifact, and then before people know it, you've seen 30 cards and you've just essentially like ad nauseum the table,
Oh
you know.
dude, that's yeah, that's
And
awesome.
people don't know, you know what I mean. And by the time they do, it's usually too late because you've seen 30, 40 cards, and you're making mana.
Oh
um,
man.
Cloud is another way. Like Cloud, this is a new card that's been really strong for this deck. It fetches Skull Clamp,
Okay.
and Skull Clamp with Cloud, it says it triggers twice, so you draw 4 cards on Skull Clamp.
That's awesome.
He's also a legendary, so he triggers your commander.
It triggers your commander.
And he's a 2 drop. So if you have something to cast, you can cast it and reanimate Cloud, and for every 1 mana that you have, and an artifact in hand, you can just draw 4 more cards. So you can effectively, if you have your commander and Cloud in play, you effectively are going to win the game because you're going to drop 12 to 16 cards on a single turn.
That's
Um,
that's awesome.
and that's another way of just like turning these mediocre, low to the ground cards that don't look super scary into something that's going to just bury the table.
Oh no, like
Um,
I'm sorry, like you said there, coming from like an opponent's standpoint, you know,
mhm.
if you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put cloud on the stack, I'm gonna be like,
Yeah,
what? Okay. When
yeah,
you're
I
like,
get a lot of eye rolls. Yeah,
yeah, right. I'm putting a Genius Smith on the stack. Yeah, people are like, oh, whatever.
yep.
Or they're too
And
busy like, what the hell does that do? Oh, whatever. I'll read it later.
yeah, exactly. And you have the like the split skin doll, which is
I've never
essentially
even heard of
cantrips.
that.
Yeah, I think it's a 2 mana artifact that cantrips when it enters.
Okay.
So same effect as the Smith. You can loop it a bunch, draw a bunch of cards.
Hmm.
Um, but you have to look at the artifacts in this deck as like it's a everything in here is a reanimate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So every single one of these that you play, you're not only getting the cards value, but you're also getting a reanimate off your commander.
Yeah, because
Um,
what scrolling back up to the Mander real quick, just to remind everybody, you know, Teshar says whenever you cast a historic spell, you're returning a creature with CMC 3 or less from your
yep.
graveyard to the battlefield. Like you're
And the
saying. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and that's kind of like the point is you're just kind of drowning people in incremental advantage.
Hmm.
One of my favorite cards in this deck is the Ranger Captain because it's obviously every deck that can is playing this.
Hmm.
It's busted. It's a tutor, but in this deck it does a lot more than that. It's a it's a silence for your turn, but you can also reanimate it and use it to chain through your creatures. So if you have a sack outlet in play, you can sack it and then go get your Mimnite and cast your Mimnite, and it reanimates it off your commander, and then you can go get another 0 drop until you can and build up a bunch of mana, and then end up winning because you can go get your like your Pixie, which is a combo piece. So it's a tutor, it's also a silence, and you can recur it with this deck too. So you can lock the table out of playing the game by just bringing it back every single turn if you can't win.
That's awesome.
Um, Completely broken.
Okay. Well, you know what? Now that we've kind of really gushed about these different options and everything, let's go ahead and actually take a look at a couple of mulligans, so that way we can
Sure,
kind of like theoretically think to ourselves, you know, how we would play the game out from here. Seven. So
sure.
we got our first seven right here. I'll read them out. We have Ancient Tomb, Soul Guide Lantern, Razor Grass Ambush, which is one of the
Modal
and
land.
yes, modal lands, Felwar Stone, Salvager of Ruin, Cathodian, and Portable Hole. So, like I said, I don't know hardly anything about this text, so you're gonna have to tell me if these hands are good or not.
Yep, this one is an insta ship to me because
Okay.
you don't really have anything to do. You have a lot of mana,
Okay.
and you have one of your retrievers, but you don't really have anything to do with it. So I think this is one of those hands you keep, and then you're living off your top deck, which is not what you want to be, where you want to be. So
Okay.
I ship that for sure.
All right. Second 7. So our second 7, we're looking at a Plains, an Emergent Zone, a Tormod's Crypt, a Vexing Bauble, a Conjurer's Bauble, Tataru Taru, and Ranger Captain of Eos.
I'd probably ship this too. This is probably like a 5 I would keep
Okay.
because you can just curve out into your Ranger Captain eventually. And it's pretty slow, but
Hmm.
on a lower Mulligan I would keep it, but on a second 7 I would ship it.
Okay. All right. All right. So go to 6. All right. So on our 6, we have Urza's Cave, Mox Diamond, Tormod's Crypt, Flooded Strand, Chrome Mox, Market Gnome, and Aethersworn Canonist.
Yeah, this is another one you're not really wanting to see in the early game. This is really good against other turbo piles. So if you're
Mhm.
against like a rock side, probably keep this because you have 2 pieces of hate for them.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
it really depends if you're a turbo deck, but you're usually a half a turn slower than the fastest ones in the format. So
Hmm.
having these pieces like a Tormod's Crypt and a Canonist are good ways to slow them down. This hand also has a lot of mana, so I would probably keep it in that pod. But anywhere else, I'd probably ship this back and go
Okay.
to either go to 6 or 5, whatever around here.
Okay. And you know what? Rick. Okay. So real quick, I'm gonna actually put a pause in here because I always forget to
Mhm.
do this part with mulligans.
Yeah,
About like predetermining pods.
sure. Yeah,
So, all right. So actually, everybody, we're gonna start over because, like I always do with deck tech videos, I forgot about coming up with pod compositions. So we kind of got to look at a couple hands that, as Chris has said, were not great hands. But now, forget all that. We're restarting. So for our pod 1, we will go ahead and we decided we have Rockrak Thrasius in seat 1. We are going to be in seat 2. Again, we're on Teshar. Seat 3 is Atali, and then seat 4 is Kenrith. So let's go ahead and take a look at our first 7 here. So this is our new first 7. We have a Flooded Strand, a Lion's Eye Diamond, a Conjurer's Bauble, Park Clan Ironworks, Salvage Scout, Esper Sentinel, and Enlightened Tutor. What do you think about
okay.
this hand?
This is definitely a keep. And you're playing. You said Rock Fast in seat 1. We're in seat 2. Seat 3 was which deck?
Atali,
Atali, and then seat 4 was
Kenrith.
okay. So in this pod, to me, I mean, it depends on how aggressive the Kinrith and the Rock Thrash is. Typically, I consider those a little bit of a slower deck. Atali's going to be pushing on turn 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we're before them in seed order. Um, this hand, we're on 25 lands. Ideally, we would have a second land, but with another land, you can win on turn 2 with this hand.
Oh, really?
So I keep it. You can decide basically how low the Atali moles. That's the deck you're really afraid of here.
Okay.
The other two are probably going to be looking for draw engines. So in my mind, I'm looking to win faster than the Atali. So if they're going to keep if they're going to keep like a 7, I might try to raise them. If they keep something a little lower, I might jam out the Esper Sentinel.
Okay.
What you're really looking for here is you have the Salvage Scout and the Lion's Eye Diamond. Are you familiar with the Bomberman combos?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so Salvage Scout and LED plus Teshar is build your own Bomberman. So with LED specifically and Salvage Scout says pay a white, you can put an artifact back in your hand from the grave and sack it.
Okay.
So with Tashar in play, you can cast your LED and reanimate your Salvage Scout, and then sack your LED, and then sack it, and you go net positive 2 white. Um, and from there you have your bauble there, which will draw your deck out. So you effectively just need to get to you can drop your scout on turn 1, and on turn 2, ideally you have a land. If you have a land plus your LED, you'll have 5 mana total, which means you can start your loop. So you can LED, crack it, cast Teshar, sack your Salvage Scout, and then start going off. It's super fragile,
Oh, wow.
but I mean, I'm keeping the turn 2 all day, every day. That's what this deck's here to jam. So
No,
um,
that's awesome because like I won't
it looks
say
like nothing.
yeah, right? Like I'm looking at this hand, you're like, yeah, we can wait on turn 2. I'm like,
Hmm.
please tell me how because this is awesome. I have no idea how. But like now
Hmm.
that you explained it, dude, that's
Yep.
so cool. Like again,
And
I go ahead, go ahead.
yeah. No, and I like this hand too because you can also lead with your Esper, which is also broken. So if you think the
Mhm.
game's going to go to turn 3 or 4, you can play your Esper and then hopefully hit your land drops. Um, But yeah, you have a lot of different ways to go with this hand. But I would probably gamble on the land for the
Mhm.
potential for a turn two here, because like your worst case scenario, you don't hit your land and then you just drop your Esper turn two, which is still
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
So
No, dude, that see, this is the stuff about this is why I think this deck is so awesome, is because
mhm,
like we talk about stuff like that. I see this hand, to me, it looks like nothing. And then you're like,
hot
no,
garbage.
this wins on turn two if we just draw another land. And I'm like, wow. Like I love again, I can't say enough how much I gush over like turbo decks. I love turbo decks. I love the idea.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
this is just another reason why I was so excited to do a deck tech on this deck specifically because this is so cool to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's goldfishing is one of the most important parts because it's so hard to understand what each piece is doing.
Absolutely.
Um,
All right,
yeah.
so we'll go ahead and move on to pod two. So pod two, and this time, unfortunately, we are in seat four. So seat one
Okay.
is Blue Farm. You know, for those who don't know what that is, it's Tim the Crom. Seat two is Rogthras, and just so everybody knows, we decided that Rogthras is in every pod because we both feel like we see that deck all the time.
hmm
Seat three is Kinnan, and then seat four is us.
Okay.
So for our first seven, we are looking. Okay, first seven we have Market Back Walker, City of Traders, Mishra's Workshop, Mindstone, Tezzeret Cruel Captain, Dusk Rose Reliquary, and Grand Abolisher.
This one is tempting because it has a lot of pieces I really like. Workshop is very critical to this deck's to it functioning. It's very powerful.
Mhm.
You have a density of 3-drop artifacts, really lets you get ahead. But I probably ship this because you don't really have a lot to do,
Okay.
other than ramping the first few turns and putting out your Tezzeret. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'd
Yeah.
ship this.
Okay. Second seven. Second seven, we
Mm.
have Plains, Urza's Bauble, Market Back Walker, Vexing Bauble, Metal Worker, Cathodian, and Salvage Scout.
Yep, this is a hand you would have wanted that workshop in, so you could drop the metal worker. You ship this too
Oh
slow.
yeah, yeah. Workshop in this hand. That sounds like fire to me. Okay,
Workshop with a metal worker is just 8 mana on turn two. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, 8 mana turn two.
damn. All right,
Yep.
going to six now. So now we have Marsh Flats, Conjurer's Bauble, Defense Grid, Mind Stone, Workshop Assistant, Esper Sentinel, Path to Exile. Man, only one
Yeah.
land again.
Yeah, this is a boring hand, but I'd probably keep it just because it has an Esper Sentinel and some ramp for turn two if you draw your land,
And we
especially
are
on
in seat
6.
four.
You're in C4, and I do expect the pod to be slower, so I would maybe just keep this, but I'm a little greedy, so I say we go to 5.
Okay. So, for theoretical, if we did keep this, what would be the card we bottom?
I would bottom either the Defense Grid or the Path to Exile.
Okay.
I might keep the path just so we have a little bit of interaction and staying power. Defense grade's not really great in low mole hands.
Fair
That's more
enough.
one of those cards that is good when you have mana and
Mhm.
resources.
All right.
Yeah.
But we said we're going to five, so let's look at a
Yep.
five. So this
Oh yeah.
five is Lazatep Quarry, Ornithopter, Mana Vault, Shriekhorn, Staff of Completion, Path to Exile, and Genius Smith.
Yep. I'd keep this 5. It has a lot of what you're wanting to do. It's another one that benefits from another land drop. If you hit another land, you can probably turn this into a turn 3 or 4 win.
Okay.
You have your quarry, which can sack your creatures. So if you can get your smith online, it sacks it and puts it in the yard for your Teshar to reanimate.
Okay.
You also have an ornithopter, which lets you convert your quarry into color mana.
Hmm.
So for this one, I probably would keep the 5, and you're kind of hoping you hit another land, but probably throw back the path, and then it's kind of tough. I probably would throw back the Shriekhorn as well because you can jam out the staff if you need to.
Okay.
Like turn one, you could tap your vault on turn one to cast your staff, and then turn two, you can cast your smith, which might be what I do depending on what I draw. So that's probably what I would keep.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And yeah.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You
Okay.
hit your mana. So this hand has a lot of what you're kind of wanting to do. Ideally, you're hitting land drops, so you're not
Hmm.
tapping your vault until you need it. But
And then Staff of Completion. I know from personal experience that if you have infinite colorless mana, this is kind of
yep,
your own build your own ad nauseum. Um,
it is. It is. It
not
can be used to draw yourself into a position that you win based on how much life you have. It's
yeah.
4 mana each time, but This is one of those cards it's mediocre at everything it does, but it does everything just good enough, and this
Yeah.
deck can benefit from it that it's pretty solid.
Okay.
Um, you can ramp this out early, draw extra cards every turn, or just use it as a rock. But it's also a reanimate for 3. So
Yeah.
it's one of those cards that like it does enough things well enough that it kind of squeaks into playability for this list.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking on, yeah, like you said, this hand, I'm starting to understand a little bit with the Teshar,
Mhm.
and I can definitely see how this hand has a couple of different pivot points depending on what you.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So that was pod two. Going to pod three now. We have Rograk Silas in seat one. We have us in seat two, Marnius in seat three, and Rograk Thrasius in seat four. So
Okay.
a turbo deck ahead of us. That's a little scary.
Sure.
Um, all right. So our first seven. We are looking at Talon Gates of
Mm.
Mandara, Crystal Vein, Mishra's Workshop, Lion's Eye Diamond, Skull Clamp, Belia, Exuberant Shepherd, and Starfield Shepherd.
So I guess first thing I'll say in a Rockside pod, the nice thing about them going first is you kind of they're the boogeyman, so you kind of just get to sit and let them jam first,
Hmm.
and they can eat the interaction at the table. So I'm usually okay with that, unless I can win on turn 2,
Fair enough.
which is not as consistent as theirs. I think this hand is close, but you probably have to ship it. The Shepherd can tutor for your Salvage Scout, which is your LED combo, but it's a little slow here because you don't have a way to filter your mana very easily until turn 2.
Yeah.
So I probably, as a first 7, I probably ship this, but
I keep forgetting
uh,
that, do you play the actual Bomberman combo in this deck?
no, you don't.
Okay.
You could, but oftentimes, it's 4 mana, so you can't reanimate it with your commander or
Okay, yeah, that's
creature.
right. That's right. That's fair.
And yeah, and there's another card, Restoration Specialist, that does the same effect as the Salvage Scout that we're not playing right now, and I would probably play that first.
Okay, okay. I keep
Yeah,
forgetting that Salvage Scout plus LED is just a thing with
it's
Teshar.
it's one of the fastest ways to win on turn 2 outside of just like hitting your sack outlets quickly.
We'll have to remember that for future reference. All right.
Yeah,
So this is our now we're going to I forget, was this our first seven or second seven?
this is first 7.
Okay. Second seven. Chrome Mox, Mirror
Mm.
Moon Vessel, Chromatic Star, Altar of Dementia, Razor Grass Ambush, Enlightened Tutor, and Cloud Midgar Mercenary.
Yeah, this hand is really, really good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so you have you ideally you draw into another land,
Mhm.
but in this case you're okay with this. I mean, it sounds weird, but you're probably imprinting your Enlightened Tutor with your Chrome Mox unless you
Okay.
draw something better. So turn 1 you can play your Razor Grass. Ideally you draw land, but which is kind of the mantra of playing a turbo
Yeah.
deck on 25 minutes. But
Yeah.
ideally you draw land, but worst case scenario you're playing your Razor Grass as your land, you're playing your Mox, and then you're casting Cloud on turn 1,
Okay.
and going to fetch your Skull Clamp, and then on turn 2 you're drawing 4 cards. So you're
Cool.
going to hit your land drop. You'll hit your land drop. You can put out your star, and then you have your altar, which is one of the 7 big pieces you need to find.
Hmm.
Moon Vessel is also really strong with that too. Another play you could do is start with the Moon Vessel and then drop your altar and start making mana.
Okay.
Um, with Teshar, you can reanimate it and sack this, and it just makes mana. So
Wow.
yeah, this hand is good. Your game plan is to draw a bunch of cards on turn 4. So I mean, like that's effectively like a very very good early fish or a Ristic if you look at it that way. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, drawing. Yeah. That's drawing. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
that's another thing that's important to kind of keep in mind with this deck. Like any turbo deck, when you let it draw cards, it's going to drown you
Hmm.
really quickly,
Hmm.
because it's all gas. There's no very little interaction, very little removal. So usually, if you can find a cloud or an esper or something early game, you probably keep it because you're
Hmm.
just going to draw into a win fast.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome, dude. It's it's so crazy to me to just look at a bunch of these cards and be like, and you're like, yeah, this hand's great. I'm like, these are a bunch of cards, and half of them I don't know what they do, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's that's awesome. Again, that's awesome, and I really think this deck is sweet. Like, I know I said it a lot, but I just want to say it again, I really think this deck is
Yeah,
sweet.
it's really
Um,
fun. Really, really fun.
One of the things I noticed earlier, kind of just jumping around, a couple different things here with the deck itself. Kind of wanted to ask you about up here. You
Uh-huh.
say play testing.
Yep.
So are these cards that you're not sold on yet?
I'm pretty close. Typically, I'll put stuff in there when I'm trying it out, and like I said, I'll put stuff in the sideboard that I pulled out of the deck to
Mhm.
try it. But I had to pull it out for a tournament that's coming up because it was coming up as invalid. But yeah, that's typically what it is, and it helps me keep track of what cards I took out to put those in because
Okay.
there's so many that I'm kind of fluctuating. I'm pretty sold on the Shepherd was a playtest card, but that card has won me so many games now. Um, it's
Okay.
a it's
Yeah.
a it's a low cost tutor.
Oh yeah.
Um, gets your combo pieces, gets your Esper if you are behind. Um, yeah, very very good. Or in the mid game, if you just need something that triggers your commander, you can go get a Midnight with it,
Yeah.
which sounds bad, but it wins you the game. So,
Okay. Yeah. No. No.
um,
Definitely.
mhm. Same for the Moon Vessel. I cut a 0-drop artifact for this card. The difference is you're paying one up front for this, but when it dies, you're making a mana, so it's effectively a 0-drop. But if you mill over this or have it in your graveyard for a combo turn, you
Hmm.
can use it to accrue mana as well, which is really important. Since this deck is extremely mana hungry, so this one has been very very good for me.
Okay.
Um, and the baubles are just cards that come in and out for me. I had self millers in the place of these before. My biggest gripe with them is that they're a little slow to draw cards with.
Yeah. You can't. You
Um,
can't use them to like pop off on your
but
turn.
when I trimmed the deck down to 25 lands, I felt you needed ways to draw a couple cards in the early game to smooth out your land drops.
Okay. Fair
So
enough.
having this and like one land or two lands helps you get those. But the big downside is for the reason that some people don't play these is in a combo loop when you use this to draw your deck, you can't draw it until the next person's turn.
Hmm.
So if you make infinite mana and then put infinite draws or whatever, you would use those to win in the next person's upkeep because you'll draw into your Liberator, which is your flash enabler.
Oh yeah.
Um,
The
I'm not playing
Liberator.
that card
You're
right
not
now.
playing that. Okay.
I cut it. I cut it. A lot of people are still playing it. I think it was one of those cards that seemed like such a slam dunk, but every time I drew it, I hated it. It's a
Hmm.
3 mana. It's a win more card to me, and it's better in a slower build. My build is trying to win quicker than that,
Yeah.
and the deck already plays really well into interaction. So, um, but yeah, that was the only kind of the red flag for playing those cards. But they've been good enough at smoothing out your land drops.
Yeah,
So,
fair enough. I mean, Flash enablers, I feel like I feel like in this meta we're in is that like a lot of
uh-huh.
people think, "Oh, you need to be able to play at flash speed. You have to be able to win at flash speed."
Yep,
And
yep,
like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that winning at flash speed isn't bad. Obviously, it's great, but like
yep.
when you're a turbo deck, what if you can just
Yep,
win?
and exactly, and your a lot of your silences are on your turn.
Hmm.
Your voice victory and your grand abolisher, and and the other thing, I mean, you have your emergence zone as well, and then a couple of ways to tutor for that. If you have that in play, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a really great way, and it's really hard to beat this deck at flash speed. Because typically you can just put wins on top of other interaction.
Yeah.
Um, but my philosophy for that was like it was a 3-drop do nothing. The deck is already really important to get all the cards in your hand need to be good. So I ended up cutting it, and I haven't really regretted it. I'm actually like pretty close to cutting Grand Abolisher. It's been
You know,
on
on
my radar for a little bit. Um,
honestly, I can see that.
it's all of your cards that don't trigger your commander are dead cards in this list,
Hmm.
and that sounds greedy, but the part of the reason to play it is it plays so well into blue piles. This deck like feeds on blue mid-range piles because countering the spells don't matter.
Hmm.
They have to hit very specific things. Otherwise, Teshar is a cast trigger. So
Yeah.
even if you counter the piece I'm putting on the stack, I'm still gonna get the reanimation.
Hmm.
So once you hit a critical mass and you get to that point where your commander's in play and you have your sack outlet, like they can't stop you. So that's kind of the philosophy for that. And the card can be dead and it can be hard to cast because your combo lines are so mana intensive.
Yeah. No,
Um,
absolutely, I
I
get
have not been able to bring myself to do it yet, but I'm
that.
pretty close. The other cards, Ranger Captain is a tutor, and Voice of Victory is easier to cast, and it also makes bodies to sack to your altars.
Hmm.
So those cards are definitely staying in, and Silence helps you buy turns against other combo decks.
Yeah.
And it's also just kind of a busted card. So
No,
so that's the card I've been kind of eyeballing the most recently.
absolutely. And like you said, I totally get it. Like when you have a deck where every card in the deck is meant to like work together, work
Yep.
intrinsically with each other, and then you have like
Yep.
this one card that's just like, I don't
Hmm.
do anything. But
Yep.
this one thing, which while the one thing it does is really good, at the same
Yep.
time, the one thing it does is also completely useless
Yep.
to what you're trying to do.
It is, and it's great because you can reanimate it if you mill over it, and that's awesome. But that's just like asking your opponents to remove your commander on the spot.
Yeah.
But and yeah, I mean, but I think most of the time this card pitches to Chrome Box.
Mhm. Well, that's fair. That's like how I felt in my Stella Lee deck when I play. I think I might have
Hmm.
tried going back on. No, I took the fence grid out because
Yep.
kind of like how now the fence grid for your deck makes sense because you're an artifact deck, but
It Yes, and you can
Mhm.
also pot it away by sacrificing it
Yeah,
if you can't win.
yeah.
Um, and it's a reanimate. So yeah, that
Mhm.
card's very very good.
But like
Hmm.
for me in my deck, like my Stella
It's
Lee
pretty dead.
deck, it's so mana intensive that
Hmm.
it was so hard to try to put that on the stack and then the other cards I
Present a
needed
win.
on the stack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that actually that's a really good point. That was something I was feeling that this deck was really struggling with is presenting a win as well as being able to protect it sometimes.
Hmm.
So me and another one of the brewers, we actually came up with, and a lot of the guys have been doing this too. And I was never really a believer, but we went on Metalworker, which has been completely broken, and then the keys, two of the
Hmm.
untapper keys. Those are really really good ways to make all that extra mana to present wins.
Yeah.
Metalworker is it's a mana ability, so you get 2 mana for every artifact you reveal. Doesn't really matter if you reveal your whole hand to the table; they don't know what they're looking at. Doesn't matter.
They're like, what the fuck are all
Um,
these cards?
but like in the a part of the reason I think that I've been able to start pushing turn twos with this deck is this package, because if you have an early Metalworker on turn 1 or 2,
Mhm.
followed by a key, you can use your key to untap your Metalworker.
Yep, I'll take a key,
Um,
untap target
and
artifact.
like the other day, I had a hand where I workshopped out a Metalworker on turn 1,
Oof.
and then turn 2 I made like 15 mana, 16 mana with it.
Oof.
Um, and then I mean, as long as you have the action in your hand, it like doesn't matter because you just have omniscience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
for sure.
hot. That's hot. I
But
love
yeah,
that.
the mana restrictions are a big thing though. I mean, like it's a big deal, and especially any kind of turbo. That's another reason to cut Grand Abolisher in this deck, because it's like you're a colorless pile that's splashing white. You're not really a mono white deck.
Yeah. You're really like, I need only one
Yeah.
white pip, and that's to get my commander out there.
It's usually the case, yeah. And it's like if you look at the mana base, I'm not to go off topic too much, but
Oh
like
no, yeah.
I'm playing a lot of white mana production, but I'm playing like 10 colorless lands, quite a bit. So you really have to make sure that there's a weird balance you have to find, and it just takes kind of playing around with it. But
There are
um,
significantly less planes in this deck than I thought there would be. Wow.
yeah, it's like 5 and 5 fetches, and then you have like your cavern and your ancient den that make mana, like
Hmm.
white mana. But um, otherwise, it's a lot of utility lands, and I've actually cut a lot of them, unfortunately, just to make it consistent enough to hit your white lands.
Fair enough.
Um, it used to be a lot greedier, but I found that you can't be too greedy on 25 lands.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. When we say 25 lands for everybody, I know it says 23 here, but there's two
Remoto lands.
MDSCs in there
Hmm.
somewhere. So,
They're in the removal. Yeah,
oh, remove. Did I pass that?
up a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah, you passed it. It's up towards the top. Yep,
uh,
right there,
okay.
right under ramp. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. There's
Yep.
the MDSCs. So, so
Um.
one thing I want to jump in. So we kind of been bouncing around a lot with this deck, just kind of hinting at various things of what it does, what it can't do, gushing about it. Um, let's kind of talk. I feel like we've really talked about its strengths. What would
Yep.
you say are some of its weaknesses?
And it's got quite a few.
Hmm.
First of all, it's not intuitive for new players. It's really hard to pick it up and be successful with it because it is so difficult, and there's a lot of variance. As well as there's a lot of decision making. You don't have very straightforward combo lines, so the learning curve is very high. Another thing is this really really struggles into a Staxy meta.
Okay.
Stack folds to Collector Roof, and Null Rod like
Oof.
no other. Folds to Dothy Voidwalker, folds to Dranith. Really really hard. You can't play the game.
Yeah.
Um, I will say that you over the last couple of years, it's gotten a lot of pieces where you have a lot more staying power, and it's gotten a lot more good removal. Talon Gates of Madara was like one of the best cards printed for this deck.
That's fair. Yeah.
Um, to remove those pieces, I've not had an issue with that. It's also gotten a few more tutors to remove those pieces, but yeah, it folds really really hard to stack. So if you're in a stacky pod, you can often just get pushed out of the game. You have ways back in, but it can be tough.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, Other things is it doesn't have a lot of agency. You have some silver bullet pieces.
Hmm.
You have your ranger captain. You have your like your path to exile. You have some sorcery speed removal. Um, you have um, you have some sax pieces like your Aether Sworn and your Tormod's Crypt, but You really are not. You don't really have a lot of staying power if somebody puts a win up before you do, and nobody else can stop them. You don't really have much to say about it. So you kind of need to be okay with that kind of play style.
That's fair.
Um, mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is kind of intrinsically the
Yeah.
that those are kind of the same, I don't want to say problems, but like the same weaknesses that a lot of turbo decks share.
Yep.
Um,
For sure.
you're
For
pretty
sure.
pretty all in on what you're trying to do, and if
Yep.
yeah, but I mean, again, as we talked, it's a really sweet deck. I really like the deck. And to
Okay.
me, hearing like how to put it, to me, hearing those weaknesses, it doesn't make me go, ugh, because I'm just like, yeah, I feel that. Like I can I can really think of a couple of my decks that are like, yeah, they would really fold to like something like so.
Yeah, and it's just something you just have to accept when you're playing turbo, especially something like this.
Yeah.
Um, it's really good into certain piles, but it also has some bad matchups, and that's it's fine. I mean, I was playing this back when Dockside was a card,
Oh.
and the amount of games I played out where I dump my hand and then lose on turn two to a Dockside, yeah.
Yeah.
um, um,
R.I.P.
yep. It also lost Jewel Lotus, which is one of the better cards this deck had access to, and Mana
Yeah.
Crypt.
Honestly,
It's
no, I just I was almost about to go on a little bit of a tirade there. I really miss Jewel Lotus. I think of all the
it's coming.
cards.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
I think of all the cards,
Um,
that's the one that would be okay to
yeah.
come back.
I think it'll be back next year. That card was really busted in this deck because you obviously have a 4 mana commander you can
Yeah.
ramp out, but it also is a 0 drop artifact, so it's also a reanimate, and you can use it in loops to combo. So
Yeah.
yeah, very sorely missed.
Yeah.
Everflowing Chalice gets cut the second that card gets unbanned.
I was about to ask if they unbanned Jewel Lotus, what are you cutting? But yeah, there you go. That
Everflowing Chalice, I think. I mean, there's a couple pieces that have fit into the role of like Mana Crypt
mhm,
and that, but yeah, it's definitely Chalice.
that's fair. That's fair. All right.
Yeah.
Well, what are a couple of are there any other kind of cards that you'd like to really highlight? Cards that are like really important to the deck or like key features to what you're trying to do?
Yeah. If you scroll down a little bit, some like new cards that have been really good. Obviously, Cloud was busted. Tatar was really good in this deck. It's a reanimator. It's a reanimation target that triggers on this cast. So it's a
Mhm.
legendary value engine.
Oh yeah.
This
I,
is like your Lotho or your
mhm.
Tithe. This gets out of hand really fast, but it also makes artifacts for you to sacrifice to your altars.
There you go.
Doesn't matter if they're tapped. So it's really good with your grinding station. And also, if you get into a position where this is the only piece you have, you can loop it and draw cards. So it's very very good.
Mm.
Um,
I keep forgetting
uh,
that historic is legendaries. Like my mind
yep,
just goes,
yep,
my mind
yep.
just like replaces the word historic with artifact. And I keep forgetting, no, legendaries count.
Well, exactly. That's why we play things like Felia too,
Hmm.
because it's a piece of removal that also is a proactive piece.
Yeah,
And that's kind of the name of the game is to make the deck work. You need enough overlapping synergy,
yeah,
otherwise it falls apart.
fair enough.
You scroll down, your altars are obviously broken. Your mana altars can turn your 0 drop artifacts and your low cost creatures into big mana very quickly.
Yeah.
Um, Tezzeret's a great addition we just got recently. Tutors up combo pieces, tutors up Vesper Sentinel, tutors up stacks. Does everything. Um,
So
um,
I want to ask real
yeah.
quick. So I see you have Oswald in here. You're not really doing any of like the random Oswald chains though, right? It's just
No,
another way to
but
kind
if
of
I yeah, and this is I mean, just forget about this after I say it, but if this deck resolves an Oswald on turn one or two, the game is over if they don't remove it. Usually in a turn, oftentimes the play patterns are you drop a turn one Oswald, drop a turn two 3 drop, and pot it into a KCI, and then the game's over. Um,
nice.
Card is very 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 good. And that to me that's like the biggest. As soon as this deck gets a couple more efficient tutors, it becomes very very strong.
Yeah, actually, honestly, I'm looking at like, so like
Hmm.
the different yeah.
It's pretty rough. Yeah, you're playing what you can. I mean, Ranger Captain's a tutor as well, and
Mhm.
You're playing Urza's mine, I think, to get your workshop. Uh yeah, Urza's cave. Sorry.
Okay.
That tutors up your workshop, but it also can get your talent gates. That's been really strong. I recently put that in. Um, and I'm also playing Weathered Wayfarer, which goes and gets utility lands, but most of the time it gets workshop,
Fair
which is
enough.
really 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 powerful.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I play around with Shorekai a little bit, so I totally understand how
yep, finding
workshop
that
is
card
really good.
finding that card very very quickly is really important.
Hmm.
But yeah, other like standouty cards. I mean, uh, Recruiter's really good because it's you can sack it for mana. You can reanimate it a bunch of times. You can those ETB tutor creatures. You can chain them into wins usually. So if you have a sack altar, you can reanimate it 3 or 4 times on a turn,
Mhm.
and then find a win. So they're really, really potent in this build.
Yeah.
Um,
I kind of want to
yeah,
jump in here again and just say, I mean, we can keep highlighting some other cards, but like the
yeah,
big thing that I just keep like hearing over and over again, and I really love it, and I think it's like one of the huge strengths about this deck is how you're just like, yeah, this card allows you to do this and chain, and like this card allows you to do this and
yep,
chain, or lets you
yep,
go get this thing to chain, and like you said about just like the overlapping synergies.
yep.
It's just so cool to me to hear how like all these different cards work so well together in conjunction with the commander out and like just doing this and getting this and being able to do this again, and I think
Mhm.
that's really awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It's part of the where the learning curve comes from is understanding what your pieces can do.
Mhm.
And then part of like deck building this because there's not really a lot of players building it, so I don't even know if this is really the optimal build. I don't know what an optimal build. I wish someone like an Ian or something would pick it up and spike a tournament because then I can see like what his mind would look at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I feel pretty good with this one with where it's at. But yeah, it takes a lot of tweaking to try and figure out what the good balance is.
Oh no, I the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, oh man, like part of me would love to try to pick this deck up and start playing with it.
You should. You should. It's fun.
But then another part of me is like, oh my word, I don't know. Because like I recently just picked up Kark Thrasios and that deck already like
Sure.
makes my brain explode in a different
Yeah.
way. So now I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
do I
Y-
want to like
I
fill my head and then make it explode?
Yeah, dude, it's one of those. I think it's fun. You should try goldfishing it a while before you try and play it.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you make yourself and the pod miserable, and then you're not going to win any games because you're not going to know what you're doing. But um, it's funny. This is like my
Fair.
comfort. This is my comfort deck now. I also play Tim Dargo as my other deck I've been
Yes,
playing, and like this is the deck I come and play when I need something I can turn my brain off for because I played it
that's
so much.
that's hilarious. I love that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
So this is one I'm very, very comfortable on. But yeah, it's definitely a very, very steep learning curve.
I have to jump in real quick. It's hilarious you say that because my Tim the Dargo list is the deck that
Yep.
I play when I just want to shut my brain off.
See,
Because
yeah, I love that deck, and I think I do think it's a more powerful deck than Teshar, obviously, but my comfort level on it makes it worse. So,
see, I have my list built probably not the optimal way because like
sure.
my list is very much built into like trying to just like advantage away Dargo into enough mana to add Nas or
Uh huh.
like
Uh huh.
Peer to
Of
the
course.
Abyss. So
Yeah.
when I'm looking at the deck, I'm like, okay, I don't really care what everyone else is doing unless it's a stack piece, so I'm not really paying much attention then. I just look at my
Hmm.
hand and like, okay, does this add Nas or can I count to the mana needed to add Nas or Peer?
Oh, dude,
And
I love that deck.
then it's
It's
just like
so
yes,
fun.
no, switching off, you know.
Oh, that one's so fun too. Not to go on a tangent, but that deck is so fun because you can just mull for turbo, and then if you are on like a 4 or 5, you just mull for Timna,
Yeah,
and you're
exactly.
like, okay, cool. Yeah, that deck is so much fun.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But anyways, moving back to the deck we're
No
actually
worries.
talking about, just had to gush there. I mean, um, what well, you know, kind of going back to what we were talking about. Any other like pieces that you really feel deserve a little bit of a specific call out that we haven't already?
Yeah, I mean, like you have, like I talked about the Ingenious Smith being like your ad nauseum. Um, that is one of those inconspicuous cards that it turns out to be very, very powerful. But you also have things like Shriekhorn. I don't know if you've seen this card.
So
Um,
I remember I had played one of the games I had played with you.
yep,
This was a while back now. I remember seeing Shriekhorn come down, and I think
yep.
it actually messed up my top deck tutor that game.
Yeah, so take a journey with me. Put on your cope visors for a second, okay? This is a 1 mana counter spell that counters top deck tutors. Okay.
Hmm.
It's also a 1 mana reanimate, and it puts 2 cards in your bin, so it draws 2. So this is ancestral recall. It's also a counter spell. Is how I look at this card.
No, no, that's awesome, and
uh,
it's really
so
true.
yeah, and you think about it, you're playing it for 1 mana. If you play this, a hand that I really like to keep is just a bunch of mana plus this,
Hmm.
because by turn 3 you're putting 6 cards in your bin. And you're playing like 30 some creatures in this deck, so you're going to be hitting some stuff that you can reanimate. So if you have mana to get your commander online and this card, you're seeing a lot of action early, and it just turns off some keeps that players will go for. If they're playing like for a a turn two necro or something, and they top deck tutor, they're no longer allowed to do that because you can just shut it off for free,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And that's the two baubles I'm playing used to be two other mill cards.
Hmm.
Um, I put the baubles in because they're better like in a vacuum than the millers. The millers kind of require more things to be going well for you to be good.
So
Um,
I have to I
Go ahead.
want to step in real quickly because it's hilarious. So one of the games on my channel that was actually played with Jay, who which I hadn't said earlier, but Jay, as being a
Yep.
part of the Patreon,
Yep.
he requested that me and Chris do this video
Hmm.
because Jay has also been playing around with this deck. But
Yep.
to go back to that tangent, I was playing a game that's on the channel. Jay was in the pod on Teshar, and then
Was he dunking on Shriekhorn?
no, actually, it was hilarious. Oswald was in seat 2, and it was, Oblivico or Bean on Oswald,
Huh.
and he played the Streak Mall or the Streak Horn, and the reason it's funny is because I had Win that required a top deck tutor, and because of the Streak Horn, I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah,
crap."
you just can't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Uh,
I was playing Thrasios Yoshimaru, I had Kinnan on board, and I had Enlightened Tutor in hand, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah," and then Streak Horn comes down, and I'm like, and then Jay ends up winning that pod. It was hilarious. That game's
oh
great.
yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, dude. That's yeah, Jay. I actually met him through the Teshar Discord, so
really, that's
him and I
awesome.
are good friends. But we brew this deck all the time. But he really hates the Shriekhorn. It took me a long time to convince him of it being good.
Really,
But yeah, him and I have a funny relationship with this card. But
that's funny.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and
when it's good, it's really good.
oh, I bet. And to everybody who's watching this video, I'll try to remember to link the gameplay video that I just referenced down below. You should definitely go check out that gameplay video if you want to see this deck in action. Maybe not the exact list, but this deck in action and see how it really performs. Because that video is really sweet and it really
If it
showcases.
is, yeah, if it was with Jay, him and I are we were brewing around the same time and kind
Okay.
of using each other's lists. So it's I think we were like three cards off.
Okay,
So
that's awesome. Yeah, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that game also really showcases just like just how crazy Teshar can go. Again, yeah, this deck is awesome. I love it. Um, anyways, any other cards you want to call out, or any other like little tangents or things you want to talk about with the
I could gush about this deck all day long. I love it so much. It's like my pride and joy. I take so much joy in playing this deck, but and I could talk about it forever. But I not necessarily. I mean, I think we kind of hit all of the kind of the big things that you're kind of looking for
Okay,
and kind of what it does.
that's awesome. And I actually want to stop it or step in there and say, you know,
Yeah.
it's really great to be able to talk with somebody who not only really knows a deck, but like really loves that deck and has been playing that deck for like such a long time. There's like people like that, you know, not only do they really truly understand the deck, you know, not do you really truly understand this deck, but like you have like such a connection to the deck that just like to me makes I don't even know like what I'm looking for, like makes it feel so much more meaningful, makes it feel so much more like impactful. You know, just all of that. I think it's like again, I said it earlier, I'll say it again. I'm really happy that we got together to do this video because I really like Tashar, and I think it's really great just how much you deck to be able to
Yeah,
talk about and everything. It's like
for sure.
I've done deck techs on a couple of my decks as well, but like for instance, Stella Lee, which is the deck that I love, Stella Lee herself has only been around for what a year and a half at this point,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, and hasn't really seen a whole lot of change. I feel like
Hmm.
Teshar has probably seen a lot of change since its time in being around.
It's probably 30 or 40 cards different than when it came out. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
Um, so we one kind of thing I do want to cover again here before you know we wrap everything up. I'd asked earlier if this was you know turbo mid range
Yeah.
Staxy build, and you said about being turbo.
Yep.
Uh, is there a way to really kind of build it more mid-range grind or more stacks grind?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it is a turbo build, but you can definitely play this super grindy.
Mhm,
This deck is really powerful in the mid and late game because you just get to a critical mass where you are just reanimating pieces every turn and can just win every turn.
mhm,
So don't get me wrong, like, it definitely can grind into the mid game really well. But yeah, you can do some things. You can go up on the land count and make sure you're kind of hitting your lands and getting to that turn 4, turn 5 space. There's also a lot of really good hate bears you can play in this build that are 3 CMC or less.
Okay.
Like your Dranith Magistrates and your Aven Interrupters
Hmm.
and Tax Collector is another really strong one. I don't know if that's from the Assassin's Creed set. Um,
Tax
that
collector.
one's
Actually.
yes, that one. That one says it's one in a white. It says when it enters, you basically get to turn off an activated ability of a card, or spells your opponent's cast this turn cost one more, and you can stack that. So if you can't win the game, you can reanimate it and sack it a couple times to Teshar, and you can make every spell cost like 4 or 5 more.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, yeah, so like there is definitely ways to play this in a Staxier way,
Okay.
or even just more of a grindy, like value plan.
Mhm.
Some people are playing Smothering Tithe, things like that.
Yeah,
But I
actually,
think if you
that was
do,
one of the things I did want to call. I
yeah,
noticed that earlier. I didn't. I forgot to say
mhm.
about it. I noticed that you're not on Smothering Tide, which to me felt
I
weird, but
yeah, I know. I want to be. It's just one of those cards like you're mulling for action, and it doesn't really
it requires your
help with that.
opponents to be doing things. And not only does it require
Yeah,
your opponents to be doing things, but it requires them to be doing something that's you kind of really don't want them to be doing. You don't want somebody to be drawing a lot of cards.
right. And don't get me wrong. If you can resolve this on turn 1 or 2, then
Mhm.
you're in a really good spot. But it's like you don't have a Timna to start to cast and start drawing cards. You really when you have an opening hand with a Smothering Tithe, you need mana to get it on play on turn 1 or 2. And then you also need some action to follow it up with. So to me, it just didn't really fit into what I was trying to do.
That's fair.
Um, and I ended up cutting it. It was very good in some games, but other games it is super dead. And as a top deck, when you need like a trigger for your commander to win the game,
Hmm.
and you draw that, it feels really bad.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're wrong for playing it. I'm not opting to right now.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. It's definitely
Mhm.
having understood more about the deck now we talked about it, it's definitely a card that I don't think I would it's definitely a
No,
card I don't think I'd run if I was playing this deck either. Because
yeah,
also like you said, your commander, you're not a Thrasius deck. You can't just mana into nowhere. You're not a Tymna
yep,
deck, which manaing into nowhere is okay because you can draw cards.
yep,
Like you said,
yep.
you need action.
Yep, and there's a lot of ways to I mean, you can value with Teshar, get incremental advantage, but in my experience, that's not really a way to push forward. But yeah, you can definitely play a Staxier build. Some people have done that, and I think that's the only way you're really going to stay into the middle late game. And I just don't think Stax is very effective right now, unfortunately.
No,
Um,
unfortunately not. I would
so I
agree.
think I tried it, and there's some other people that have played it that have brought it to some good success.
Mhm.
Um, Josh from the Prowess Discord. He leads that. He played a Staxi build for a very long time. He was on the database, and his was very successful, and he really liked it. And I think even he's migrated into more of a quicker build as well.
Oh wow.
Um, mhm.
Okay.
But yeah, you definitely can.
Yeah. So to kind of wrap this up here, what we talked about this list. It's definitely much more of a turbo list. Trying to win on turn two, turn three has a lot of like
Hmm.
really intricate pieces that work well together that overlap and everything. I think it's a really sweet deck. So like, let's say somebody out there watched this video and they're like, "Wow, I want to pick this deck up and try it." What are some like helping points? What are some suggestions? What are some things that you would say to someone like that who's like, "Wow, this
Yeah.
looks really cool. I want to try it."
Yep. I would say first of all, go to the Mono White Discord. There's a Teshar chat. There's a lot of smarter people than me that are brewing this deck. A couple really smart guys. Not a lot of people are active, but they all know this really well. They help me a lot, talk me off the edge. So they're always super friendly and willing to talk about it. And you can DM me as well. I love to talk about this deck. Brings me a lot of joy. So I'm always happy to talk about it and help people along. Um, the other thing is like don't be discouraged when you play it because you're going to lose a lot of games while you learn it. But the to me the kind of the level up of once you start winning games, it's very rewarding because you it just is very accomplishing and you never really win the same way. So every game is different. So just be patient with it.
Yeah, no, actually, honestly, again, I always want to say to me, like, that's the big thing about the deck that's like makes me like really rubbing my hands, like, oh man, because
Yeah.
like I really like how you said it's. Don't be wrong, I love a good Thassa's Oracle demonic consultation.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think I
Me
think
too.
CDH is very healthy to have a very quick, easy way to win the game. I think it's
Yep.
very healthy for the format. But at the same
Yep.
token, to me, I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh man, the idea of like I do
Dude.
this, which triggers this, which brings this back. So now I need to sack this to get the
Oh
mana
yeah.
to do this. Like that to me, that all sounds like, oh, I like
It's
that.
just it stimulates your brain every time you play. It's always something different, and you get to do the dumbest ways to win the game. I had a game pretty recently where I made infinite mana under like a silence, and then I used a blasting station to just like recast my commander and throw it at people's faces until they were dead, which is hilarious.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and to me, I don't ever really get bored with it because every game it's kind of like Tinadargo, where every game is a little different.
Mhm.
You're playing with the resources you have in front of you, and then you're kind of putting together a puzzle.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I really like that. That's also to gush about another deck real quick. That's how I feel about
Mhm.
Kark Thrasius, but in a different way.
Yep,
Because
100%.
I always tell people I play that deck, they're going to, they're like, "Are you going to win?" I'm going to be like, "I don't know, but we're all going
Maybe.
along for a ride."
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
It's very accurate.
yeah. But no, again, thanks so much for coming on to talk about this deck. And
Yeah,
again, this was Nick Foles, Goto9. He's one of the top tiers in my Patreon, and he was one who, for his choice for video, wanted me to do this deck tech here with Chris, for everybody who's watching. So again, I'm really happy to be able to do this here with you, Chris. Again, uh this deck is so sweet. I really think this deck's awesome. I think it's a lot
thanks,
of
man.
fun. Yeah, absolutely. And for everyone watching, again, I will link in the description below Jay's the gameplay video with Jay, where using more than likely an identical list that, or maybe a few cards off, where he really did pretty awesome with the deck. It's a really cool video to watch. So you all should definitely check that out. And
Yeah.
Chris, any other final words?
Yeah, Jay Shriekhorn is a good card. Sorry to tell you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for coming on, and thank
Yeah,
you everybody so much for watching. Again, if you like this content, you want to keep seeing more of it, please hit that like and subscribe. If you want to show more direct support, links to both my Patreon and my bonfire in the description down below. If you have a deck that you'd really like to talk about and you think is really sweet, check out the Patreon. In one of the higher tiers, there is an option to be able to do that with me, to be able to do a video like this with me that I'll be releasing out. So again, Jay, thank you so much for your support, and Shane, thank you so much for your support, and thank you again, everybody, so much for watching, and we will see you all next time.